make it, but we in. Started from the bottom, now we looking top tier. Know that we the chose, so they made us feel the fear. I see God appear when I look into the mirror. I know that I'm the chose, yeah. And it's time to give us back the identity they stole. Rest in peace to the nigga that they try to make a me. Gotta elevate these bones, cause we the stand. Waking up the dead so they finally understand. Now look at what is wrong, cream of the crop. No matter the problem, we rising to the top. I'm the progeny, God stand.
Okay. Welcome back to yet another episode of the God Standard Podcast. This is episode number 16, 16th episode. And the title of this episode is Shifting Perspective, Finding Freedom. And we have our brother Gerald 4X with us this evening. For those of you who don't know this podcast or you're listening for the first time, the God Standard Podcast, we aim to bring light and life to the original people of the planet by sharing the stories and experiences of regular people like you, like me, who are using and have used the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to become gods in their own respective lane. And with no further ado, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Shift Your Perspective.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So, for those of us who don't know our brother, I'm gonna get into a little bit of a bio before we get into the episode. And feel free, while you guys are watching, to put your questions down below, and I will definitely, pose them to our brother. So, Brother Gerald 4X, also known as Mr. Shift Your Perspective, is a student of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, author, master social health coach, and speaker. As the founder of Enlightening Minds Enterprise, he helps to improve his people's social health through an instinctive ability to shift one's perspective with every experience and social interaction. So again, thank you again for coming on. And I want to know, I'm going to get into it. I want to know where the moniker Mr. Shifter Perspective, where did that come from?
Well, when I first came into the teachings, just Islam in general first, because
Okay.
I did come through an Orthodox Islamic perspective, yeah,
Okay.
quote unquote, right? And the brother whom introduced it to me, right? He he asked me, when once I was going in, I guess you could say, because I didn't even take the shahada like right off. I had really learned the prayer first, and then some other things, and then so in a way, he had asked me about some key things about myself in regards to things, I guess, that kind of make me who I am in a sense, and then he kind of went off as well as things that he's seen in me, and one of the things that he grabbed was the fact that he said you're very perceptive.
Mm.
And he, at the time, I was given the attribute by Sia under Islamic tradition, and from that perspective, right? And and just from there, I've always considered myself to just reflecting on my childhood coming up to be very observant,
Mm.
to have been able to dodge and miss a lot of could have been dangerous situations, misfortunes, and so on and so
Right.
forth. I've able to miss a lot of that just paying attention,
Mm.
in the streets and so on. And that's basically where it would it have developed from, and it
Okay.
come from the fact of my uncle at a very young age, right? I was asking questions. I was in elementary sometime, and I, how kids, he ask questions,
Right.
and I asked him probably about the fourth question that was lined up,
Right.
and he said, "Boy, stop asking all those questions."
Mm-hmm.
And even though his mom, my aunt, immediately responded and say, "Don't tell that boy that. He can ask whatever he want to ask." The damage kind of was done. So I
Right, right,
stopped
right.
asking questions, you know. But
Okay.
what that did was cause me to think a lot and start trying to figure things out
Mm,
without asking the question.
okay.
And that's where that I believe that started in regards to me just becoming more analytical and things like that. And then with just prison experience and some other things that was further, I would say, cultivated. And it just reached a point to where I realized even when in there, I was able to intervene in disputes
Mm,
while listening to two people, and they're not really paying attention to what they're saying, you know,
mm,
and I was able to help them see under many different circumstances how either they weren't listening to each other or how they basically still was just saying the same thing, just in
mm.
a different way. That
Right.
they were really in agreement. They just didn't know they was in agreement, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
so, yeah, that's essentially where that comes from.
Okay, okay, yes, sir. So, I want to get into your background and your like kind of life experience in a little while. But I want to know, what do you find is the significance in, changing your perspective? Because like I titled this episode, shifting your perspective, finding freedom. To me, like when I think of life, I think of, if I'm striving to be the best that I can be in life, freedom is definitely up there as one of the, the pinnacles of where we would want to be mentally free, spiritually free, physically free, right?
Right.
Why is it important throughout life and having that perspective of trying to be your best? Why is it important to be able to shift your perspective?
Well, I found that your perspective is your reality.
Mm,
One, that your perspective is your world.
right.
Um, at a young age, I would say, and when I say young, I'm really referring to my young teens now,
Okay.
my teenage years, my young adult years. For that period of time, my perspective about life was was
Mm,
street, was illegal, was and so it wasn't until I'm in my 30s and then come home from prison
right.
that I even ventured really outside of the state of Texas or even
Mm,
in other areas of Houston.
wow.
It is because of how limited my perspective was about life and about the world and about even my goals, my aspirations. That perspective was very limited.
Right, right,
And so one of the things that helped broaden that perspective while I was away was me, one, coming to a realization which I call divine intervention because
right,
I don't think I would have come with this thought on my own, but it was my third time down,
right.
and I'm thinking I'm figuring it out every time I get out, but I'm not figuring it out. And I'm in a very demented state at this time.
Right.
And after 4 years, 4.5 years, I see parole. Guys like, hey man, I wish you luck, man. I hope you make it. And I tell them, man, I'm not even ready to go home. And they like, why? I said, because I don't know how to deal with life in no other way than I've been dealing with life.
Right, right, right.
I don't know how to deal with disrespect and being broke or, whatever else that comes with just living life, right? I didn't know
Right,
how to deal with it no other way than how I've been dealing with it. And I knew that that needed to change. My approach to life needed to change, the way I dealt with those things.
that's
So
right.
that development of perspective, which happened through me reading books and reading everything,
Right,
I had just started like just reading and reading, and my reason for reading wasn't that it didn't start with me trying to broaden perspective at first.
right,
It started with other things, right?
right, right, right,
And it just that was the byproduct of me reading, and I
right.
began to see life that I never lived through the books.
That's right.
And that's when I began to hunger for 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 really living.
Right.
to really live. And me realizing that I had never really lived all that younger years was really like counterproductive of living a slow death. I wasn't
Mm,
really living. And so, just to be hungry for that, understanding that that hunger comes from that change of perspective about so many different things.
right.
And I find that if when I was searching my purpose and me trying to see, like, well, what way can I change the world, or what way
Right.
can I be a benefit to the world? And my desire, when I ask myself that, is to improve the way we deal with each other.
Mm,
And I think that being able to check the way I might be perceiving
mm,
what's being said or
right.
what's being done,
Right.
before I even say anything, let me hold
Hmm.
on, let me step back for a minute
Right.
and toss this around a little bit. And I
Right.
have to look at this thing from different angles, inside, outside, all that. And then at some point, after you've done all that analyzing, you
Mm,
have to start asking questions, because the questions are now going to kind of piece together all this analytical work you did
right.
to either confirm or um, um, take away. I can, for lack of another term, another
Yes, sir.
word, but just take away from whatever where you may be wrong, you
Right.
know. And so that's what I find as being the benefit. If I'm saying this correctly in regards to your question,
Mhm.
that's what I find to be the benefit, which with one being able to really know that I need to really change the way I'm looking at things.
Right. Right.
That,
Right.
yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you did. I love that you mentioned like divine intervention because, sometimes it takes us in life, it takes a divine intervention. It takes something to happen or a shift or something to be seen or heard differently for us to kind of like wake up. And I feel like that being said though, like even as you were saying, you kind of wasted your life. I feel like, even those times that we're not necessarily productive or we're not doing anything that seemingly is not towards our purpose, it's all significant because it all makes up the whole perspective, like it all makes up your worldview and stuff like that. So it's
Exactly.
never in vain or purposeless, if you will.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, I think that's really, important what you said. You said how we relate to each other, right? So, when you say that, you're a master social health coach, what is social health? Can you define that for us? Like, what does it mean to you, and why is it important to teach that?
Without pulling the dictionary out,
Yes, sir.
I would say, just giving it in my language, social having reference to just the way we interact with another
Right.
human being, and the I'm trying to think of another term for I can the way where I would just define health. The hmm, I would say in the way that affects my own personal life,
Hmm.
and then the way that affects another individual's life.
Right.
So if that what we call good health is producing good for me and for others, right? It's conducive towards my overall objective and goal,
Right.
the way I respond, the way I deal with things, right? The way I see things, then I would then term that as good health,
Right.
if again, if it's producing good. But if not, and I'm constantly finding myself in pain and in grief and complaining and
Right.
blaming, and you know then I would consider that to be bad health. Um, so did I answer the question?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Social health.
Kinda. Okay.
So, how I think of it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like I feel like it's almost like how we relate to each other, like
Right.
as people, how we relate to each
R-
other. So I wonder, okay, because how I see it, and this is something that I've discovered for myself, like in the past few years, right? And
Hmm.
I'm thinking like when we are living life, when we're interacting with the world and, the environment around us, it's all about relationships, right? Different kinds of relationships, friendships, relationships with family, relationships with significant other, you know what I mean? All of these things, people at
Correct.
work, whatever. But I feel like one of the most important things in relationships is the foundation of that, the word. If you think of the word, it's relating, right? Relating
Right.
to others. But even before we relate to others successfully or in a healthy way, as you said it, we have to be able to relate to ourselves. We have to be able to understand ourselves. We have to be able to look at ourselves, right? And you mentioned being observant and being able to I forgot how you said it verbatim, but almost like quantify information or like take in information. Mm, if we're making sense of anything else that anyone else is saying or doing, we have to be able to look at ourselves, because if we're asking all these questions and omitting ourselves from the equation, then there's no accountability, there's no real holistic perspective, right? So can you speak to like the importance of having that ability to look at yourself in a non-biased, honest way?
That I think is very vital because I think that it helps. It helps in regards to what you expect from someone.
Right.
If what you are expecting is uh, fair, I guess, for lack of another term, if
Yeah.
what you are expecting is right, or because my thing with that is that if it's something that I wouldn't accept,
Right.
then I shouldn't put it out. And a lot of times, you'll find that people expect something that they don't give,
Right.
or they don't want to deal with something that they expect others to deal with.
Right. Right. Right.
And it's without looking at oneself and being honest with oneself. You know, even in the sense of when you might think of an idea where men sometimes, right, in the world may feel like, we can do certain things that women just can't do
Right.
because I'm a man, I mean, that's just what we do. And but you a woman. And I mean, the logic goes no further than that,
Right.
no breakdown, and I understand that thinking because I
Right.
was cultivated by it at one time at a young age. So
For sure.
understanding though that when you start to mature and come out of that, it starts with the way you start looking at and dealing with yourself. And so it's okay, well, I mean, if I don't want her to do it, why should I expect for her to accept that from me?
Right.
Expect for her to deal with that from me, you know? And so I just think that if an individual can reach a point, because I would say this here with love and truth, if an individual truly say, I love the truth,
Right.
then really no matter how it come out of somebody else's mouth towards you, if it's the truth, you should be able to accept it,
Right. Right. Right.
right? And yeah, we might not like the way it came out, but again, if we reflect and be like, but you know
Hmm.
what, I want to say, I once heard the honorable minister Louis Farrakhan say that when someone say a thing,
Mm.
that he reflects on it.
Right. Right.
And I just think that when we really begin to want better for self,
Right.
then our dealing with others is really based off of that, of how I
Right.
deal with myself and how I govern myself and so on and so forth. And just lastly, one of the things I've said is that people is life.
Mm.
That if you didn't have nobody else here,
Right.
and if it's just you can have a Bentley, a Rolls Royce, an island, a big mansion.
Right.
You can have anything you can think of in this world.
Right.
But because you don't have another human being to experience it with,
Right.
it won't even. It's not. You would even. You can't even enjoy
Right.
it
Right. Right.
because you don't even. I don't even have a witness.
Right.
So you don't even have a witness. So
Yeah.
um, it's very important for us to really understand that, though, how important it is for us to have healthy relationships, loving relationships with the next human being, and understand that there's nothing independent about us, that we're all interdependent,
Right.
even in areas of, especially in areas where we say we are successful. When people think, I ain't nobody help me do this. I mean, even if no one gave you no money
Right.
to invest or whatever, the people that patronize your business,
Right.
you know, yeah,
Right.
you couldn't get there without nobody else.
That's right.
So just to get rid of that whole mindset. But
That's right. That's
um,
right. And we're taught that, when Allah made himself, after he went through the process of creating himself, what did he do? He created the woman. He created the second self of Allah. So even
right,
if we look at, the teachings and the scriptures, it shows us that it's like, what's the point if there's, nobody nobody else to enjoy it with
yeah,
or to bear witness, right? So
exactly, yeah.
absolutely. So we have an audience question. I was gonna get into that as well. Can you share, because you kind of differentiated the Nation of Islam and Islam. So can you share about your journey in Islam as a whole, and then also how you came into the teachings and what was that process like for you?
So in '95, I was it okay? 95 is when I first had this conversation with a brother. I think he was a 5%er, and it was on a prison unit, and he asked me about being able to, do I think I can say what I feel and what I think. That was the first encounter with anything of that sort, right?
Right,
And that him challenging me like that, and there's more to that story, but him challenging me like that is something I never forgot.
right,
And I took it as a personal challenge. So from that day is when I began to really consciously try to say what I mean.
right.
When I that same year on that same unit, I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speak for the first time, and it was Love and Duty.
Okay.
I had loved it so much. I think I ordered it. I bought it out of the paper there
Right,
for three different people, and had it sent to their houses. you know, and I don't even recall who all I sent to. I know my mom, I think, was one, but I sent a number of videos to her as well. But
right,
that was my first encounter. But even at that time, I wasn't conscious of what the nation was.
right,
I
right,
just kind of, I just love this man right here. I
right,
love the
right,
way he
right.
broke this down so clearly, and and that's when the my love for language, I believe, had really been cultivated.
Okay.
And then from that point, around '95, let me go back again. In '95, I was also already on a spiritual journey. And
Okay.
I grew up in the church, used to play drums for the church. I used to, my grandfather was a preacher. I used to think
Mm.
I was going to be a preacher with him. And I led the church in songs and all kinds of different things,
Right,
right? And so, and when I got up older in my teenage years, the teachings that I had from church just didn't add up no more for me.
right, right,
And so now I'm in this whirlwind trying to figure out life. So I'm on this journey. I'm high all the time, but yet still I'm always talking to God. And I'm just trying to figure this thing out.
right.
So in '95, with that guy, I had wrote like a letter rap song to God.
Okay.
It was like it was a letter, but it was like a song. It was a rap song.
Right, right.
And they had a large nation community there on this Ferguson unit. And
Okay.
they would always ask me to come rap this song,
Okay.
because I'm questioning everything about life,
Right,
teachings and so on and so forth. And I was in a state of mind at that time that, God, you got to come to me. I don't, no more books. Nobody can't tell me nothing. I was in a very serious state. I'm in a
right.
turmoil. I get home, '97, trying to go real fast for this down. '97, I get my whole life get tore apart.
Okay.
I reach a suicidal state.
Mm.
I hated life. I hated waking
Right.
up every day. I didn't know how to pray no more,
Sorry,
because I
that was
didn't
when you were
really.
outside or you were still in prison at this time?
Yeah, I had got out then.
Okay.
In
Okay.
'95, I get out like around late '96. Stayed out about roughly 8 months, but before that 8 months, I would say about 6 months of it or less, I done caught another case, and I mean, just everything went upside down for me.
Right, right.
And so when I went into this, because I went into this mindset of just hating life. I'm like, if
Mm,
this, because of the fact that when I reflect back on my childhood from the fourth grade on up, it's
mhm.
been disrupted. Nothing about it was, to me, it had reached a point where it was worth living to me. I'm
Right,
like, if this
right,
all life is about, I don't even want it no more. you
right.
know. And so when I end up getting locked up, and it's a story but also behind that, but I end up getting back locked up. Bam, went through a little phase in the county. They gave me 40 years. Um, Something happened with my sister that shifted me,
Okay.
and which made me reflect on the fact that I still had all my physical faculties, and I
Right, right,
still
right.
had my sense and this, that, and other. And I realized at that point how ungrateful I had been. So
Mm,
it was the moment of true gratitude is what shifted
okay.
me. And so it was still a journey though,
Right,
because I the way I would tell people for a long time, I think God, Allah, He kept somebody there. He kept
right,
someone to hold my hand through this, like I did 14 years.
right,
He
right,
kept someone there a good portion of it,
right,
you
right.
know. And so about 2000, in the year 2000, I become Muslim,
Mm,
right? I become conscious Muslim, right?
right,
Practicing Muslim, right? And that was good. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. I evolved a lot. Um, and then I get home. It's a different reality.
right, right,
Now, prison Islam really is more love, especially where I was. We had a
right,
strong brotherhood in there.
right, right,
When I come home, my mind is perfection. It's a whole different life, a whole different
right,
world. So
right.
when I come into the mosque, I didn't feel welcome,
Mm,
and because I didn't feel welcome, it kind of pushed me back into the world.
right.
So I'm back out in the world, and at the time, before this pushing back into
Right,
the world,
right.
I had memorized 16 short surahs
Okay.
in Arabic that I used to know and used to pray and thing. I
Right,
only know five now,
right,
but um, that happened. Prayer stopped. I mean, just a whole nother bunch of things happened.
right, right.
I remember I always said that I want to go by the Mosque 45. I remember I used to listen to Robert Muhammad on this at 90.1, I think. That KPFT
Okay,
or something, that
okay,
community station. Oh, I
okay.
forgot.
I
You're not
mean,
here. I forgot you're not
different
even down here.
country. Yes, sir.
Right. But it's a community station. So anyway,
Okay,
I would listen to him. In a way, I come out, started going to the mosque,
right,
uh, ran into something that challenged my thought, that
right.
I was challenged with what I've been taught
Mm,
versus what I heard.
right, right, right,
And when I asked a few people, it just wasn't adding up for me.
right,
And so I backed away. And then time went on again. Then I realized, man, God gotta be there. Now,
right,
the time when I backed away to where now was roughly about another 7 years.
right,
So when I come back in, my mindset was different. And is that, you know what? My mindset was always I needed to know everything, why I believe it. I need to be able to explain to the people when they ask me this, that, and other.
right,
And then I
right, right,
realized I don't know everything about, where I was,
right.
you know.
Anything.
So yeah, right. And so I said, man, you know what? When I look into the world and I see the brothers and sisters in the community, and when I go up to the mosque, I'm loving the brotherhood and I'm loving the energy that I'm feeling,
Right,
you
right, right,
know. And from that, also I had become stagnated
right,
in the teachings of as al Islam, or quote unquote al Islam. Right? I
right.
had become stagnated, and I remember looking at a lecture one time where a brother, it was about synergy, and it was titled "Boy, Man, Husband," and then girl, um, woman, wife, or something like that. And at the end of it, he said, before you can really become, um, and this paraphrase, 'cause it's been so long, but before you can really become the believer that you strive to be, you have to first, he said, you wasn't broken in this country, well, in the way that he put it, and I remember, you wasn't
Right.
broken as a believer per se. You was broken as a black man first,
Right.
or you was
Right.
broken as a black woman. So you have to repair that part of you first,
Right.
you know, and all of those different things played into again me seeing the results, me looking at the nation, me seeing the results, and all I can say is, man, you know what? I don't understand everything,
Right. Right. Right.
but I know God gotta be a part of that.
Right. Right.
God
Right.
gotta be there.
Yes, sir.
you know, and that's what led me back is because I'm looking at the results.
Right.
You know, the you can tell a man by his work. You can tell a fruit by I mean a tree by the fruit that it bears. And
Absolutely.
I'm looking, I'm listening, I'm following. Brother Ben X played a big part in it. I admire the
Right.
little brother, you know. I'm like, man, this brother, I like the
Praise
way
be
he
to
carries
Allah.
himself. I like the way
Right.
he responded to the, to the haters and all that.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
I wouldn't have said that like that, man. I like the way you dealt with that, brother. You know.
Right. Right. Right.
And but all of that played a huge role into me coming back into the process
Right.
and my commitment to the process with the mindset that I know that as long as I stay a part of the process, anything that I don't properly understand is
Right.
going to be gifted to me in time.
Absolutely.
And that's where my mind is at with that.
Absolutely. Praise be to Allah. So, you posted it online probably a little while ago that you got your ex and whatnot. So, how has that been for you? Like now that you've officially, you know, done what you're supposed to do, you're in the ranks. Like, how has that changed your life? How has that shifted your perspective, if you will?
Well, I was just talking to my captain yesterday. He had called me. I think it was yesterday. He called me, and I said, "Brother, I'm glad you called me because I wanted to talk to you." He say, he said, "Yeah, we didn't get to talk earlier, and I had you on my mind and so on." And I said, "Yo, I want to share this mindset that I have, and I've been analyzing and looking at it from different angles, but I need to hear your perspective, just to give me another perspective, and to possibly tell me, how I'm viewing this thing."
Right.
And what it was is that when I got my ex, and then with it being right here at Savior's Day,
Right.
a lot was expected on me at once.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
then it's a lot. See, at least that's the way I had received this. Like,
Right.
okay, I need to memorize that. I need to memorize that. Why I ain't been know that? Why ain't nobody been told about that? I didn't know
Right.
this,
Right.
so on and so forth. And it was a lot. But one of the things, one thing, this one thing that one of the brothers shared with us, Brother Don Muhammad. He said that he talked about, he asked us, did we know the principle of inertia?
Mm.
And we understanding that inertia is supposed to be this idea of something sitting stagnated, right?
Right.
And then he said, well, that's been proven to not be the case.
Mm.
Where he said, like, well, this is what he said, that he said it takes a equal or
Opposite.
opposite reaction to cause reaction or something. But then he said that end up changing or something, right? So it
Right.
takes a greater um, or something to the extent reaction, right? And so in a way, that was to say
Mm.
that, brother, the one of the reasons why the captain is so tough on us.
Mm.
He said because he has to be that force to push us out of our state of inertia,
Right.
of being comfortable, of just only doing so much,
Right.
and then we
Right.
relax, or then we lay down, or he has to push us out of that until we start becoming like mobilizing on our own, where such
Right.
push is no longer necessary, right?
Right.
He
Right.
say,
Right.
but that push is necessary, and that was to me a huge perspective that was needed,
Right.
along with what me and the captain had discussed as well. So um, the process is I mean it's tough, but
Mhm.
I know it's meant to be. and I
Right, right,
know
right.
it's necessary, and I know that uh, is one of the reasons it's meant to be is because it's not for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was thinking that as you were speaking, because it's like you're trying to get away and it keeps pulling you back. You're trying to get away. That's what your story, that's what it sounds like to me. It's like you're trying to get away and it keeps pulling you back, trying to get away, it keeps pulling you back. And another thing that I thought of is Minister Ishmael spoke last year. It was a Sunday. It was last year, I believe in January, something like that. But he was speaking about faith, the reward of faith. And he was basically saying that sometimes obedience comes before understanding, right? Especially when
Right.
you know a thing to be good and you know a thing to be the truth. It comes before understanding. And what I thought about is like even with children, right? Like as parents, you know what's best for them, right? Like in many cases, you know what's best for them, and they might not see the whole perspective of what's best for them. And you say, okay, don't do that or don't go there, but they don't understand. But in a case like that, similarly to when we're coming into teachings, because we're babies in this when we're coming in, right? It's like
Right.
you have to know that you accepted because you know that this is good for you and your people. You understand that, so you have to know that your obedience comes before. And as you're saying, as you go and as you grow, the understanding comes, and sometimes it takes you to shift that perspective and see things differently. And then it comes clearer and clearer.
I was explaining it one time. I don't think it was a captain. I think it was another brother. I was telling him about one of my internal wars that was going on, and I say, brother, I know, and this one of the benefits I would say that came along with um, when I started just thinking about, like, when I just stopped just asking the question all the time as the child I was telling you about, when I had to
Right.
start thinking, is I built the habit of always just analyzing something I said or something I done. It's
Hmm.
like I just record it. I just like I go back and rewind it and look at the tape again, right?
Right, right,
And
right,
okay, what did I do something wrong? And then I say something wrong. I mean, but one of the things that I was saying was, like, I'm analyzing why am I feeling this way?
right,
What is going on? And I realized you use the term running, right?
right.
And maybe to a certain degree.
Hmm.
And but what I said to myself, I said, man, just submit.
Right,
I say, I say, I say the reason why this is burdening you so much, because you won't submit.
right,
You still trying to do this or do that, and just submit to, man. Just
right,
and that's the thing. And the thing is with that, it's like I'm still trying to hold on to this time. I don't like. I like to do this for this time. I want to. I'm so used to being able to utilize my time a certain way,
right, right, right,
and now I have more responsibility, so I can't do that.
right,
And I have to understand that, hey man, it's a part of the process. This is what we signed up for,
right.
and you can't lose. You can't lose in this process.
Exactly.
you know.
I actually just made a
Yeah.
post the other day, and I was just like, you can't lose when you're on God's side. You know what I mean? Like, of course, understanding that our time is not God's time, but knowing that once you submit, and you're fighting the fight, you're gonna be victorious. Whenever that comes, you're gonna be victorious.
Right.
That
Right.
it was written. So
Right.
I
Right.
love that. So
And too.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. The last thing, when you asked me about Al Islam in the nation, right? You know, Al Islam, it doesn't really require nothing. In
Mm,
a sense, it do, but not
right,
nothing near what the process in the nation requires of us.
right, right, right.
You know, and when I look at my brothers and sisters over there, particularly my brothers, um, I can see it's still, you still can just You still, it's like it's very similar to the Christian.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
very similar. It's very similar because, yeah, I mean, it's like it's more than me just saying I believe, but in the same time,
Right.
I mean, it's really no one really holding you accountable.
Right. That's right.
And I remember this last thing the captain told us this here. He said, "Brother, don't take nothing personal."
Right.
He said, "Because it's my job to deal with the devil in you."
Right.
He said, "I'm not. It's not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not messing with you like that. I'm
Right.
dealing with
Right.
the
Right.
devil that's in you, because that devil is real sneaky and slick.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
know, it is. It is
Absolutely.
he say some of y'all too vague when I ask y'all why you haven't come to class today or why you're not coming to class, and brother give vague answers. He
Right.
say we need to know specifically everything, and I get it. I
Right.
get it because of the deceptive intelligence
Absolutely.
that we've been trained to operate on, and it happens instinctively, you know.
Right.
And so someone has to be there to check it, because obviously we're not going to always check
That's right. That's right.
it.
Brother Winfred said, "My barber shop too."
What did he say?
He said, "My barber shop sharp too." My
Oh,
brother,
he
sorry,
said,
my brother
brother.
sharp
Oh,
too.
oh, praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
praise be to Allah.
So, when I think of that, what you're talking about, the deceptive intelligence, it makes me think of, it's so true because sometimes it's like it's not about because if we think about and when you say just to be clear for our listening audience, when you speak about al Islam, you're speaking about more of like the Orthodox Sunni Islam, and then you're speaking of like the Nation of Islam and
Right,
comparing the
right,
two. And I understand what you're saying about it being more so just like the church, like you go and then you go back to your life and you're living this life over here, but then over here you're practicing Islam kind of thing. And I feel like not I feel like but the fact is that when we accept these teachings, it's not just okay, we believe this. It's like we're on a mission.
right,
We're on a mission for our people, right? So it's like it
right,
requires more of us. And apart from the mission for our people, like we're raising ourselves into gods. We are with Allah, with the help of Allah, are being raised into gods, right? So
right,
in submitting to the process, it's more than just I believe this is what I you know what I mean? It's in practice, it's in motion. We are on this
hmm,
mission. It's ever ever evolving and ever unfolding. So that's definitely a different perspective, a different, way of doing things because like
right,
you said, there's nobody to hold you accountable, but what a blessing it is. Like honestly for me, and we always say like, a reminder is a blessing. But what a blessing it is to be striving to be striving to be God, right? But having people around you to pull you up
right,
and say, okay, well, but why are you really not here? You know what I mean? Or like,
right.
why are you for us sisters, like, why are you wearing that? Or why are you doing this? Or like, these things. And to me, like, it's a blessing because even as you were saying, like growing up in the streets, growing up in the hood, it's like everybody's just in the same pile of you know what I mean? So there's nobody that's really going to be like, okay, well, we should do better. This is what we should do. Nobody knows. Everybody, it's the blind leading the blind, right? So to have to be amongst the believers and to be amongst people who can show you, like, I am forever, forever, forever grateful to Allah for
Indeed,
setting things up the way that He came to do and did and is doing. So you know what I mean? That's very, very it's a blessing. It's beautiful.
indeed, indeed, indeed. I mean, you're right, and it's just having that, like you said, that accountability, brother and sister. Where the brother or sister ain't gonna just they see you.
Right, 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 right.
You go, it ain't gonna be no like I didn't see you,
Yes,
or no, no, come talk to me, man.
yes,
And
sir.
we need that because coming up in this world, and coming up out of this world, and striving to rise above it and stay above this world, It's a consistent and daily challenge,
Absolutely.
and we need that from each other. And a
Absolutely.
lot of time we just want each other help, like, if I'm doing bad, or
Right.
we want that, but we don't want a person to hold each other accountable a lot of time. Hey, brother,
Right.
you shouldn't be. Why you do? And we need that as well. You
Absolutely.
know.
100%. 100%. Okay, so I want to get into your book, and you shared that you were, kind of in and out of prison and whatnot, and I just want you to speak about your book, but I want you to speak about why it's so important for men, but black men in particular, um, to understand the pitfalls of life as a original man, and understand like why it's so important to plan and strategize on how to stay out of that situation.
I learned that with all that time I did, I was in a mindset of, when I come home, I was in a mindset of the what if.
Right.
And I would tell people that I can't handle the what ifs.
Right.
So me telling me always seeing a possibility of something going wrong
Right.
and having to deal with the result of that decision was one of the things that helped keep me from straying out that path. But now,
Right.
even with that, with me saying that, I also have lived to understand just how powerful the forces of this world can be in regards to uh, the need to for a black man to feel important, for a black man to feel um, productive, significant, to have value.
Right.
I understand, and that cannot be overemphasized,
Right. Right.
because even with that time I did, even with the what if factor, there was a time where my ego started getting involved.
Mm.
And because I couldn't get work because of all these other things that was happening when I first come home,
Right.
I found myself knocking on the door of the game.
Right.
Something I thought I would never do
Right.
again. And here's the thing about that. I've had people that give me bags of X pills and bags of well, he only gave me like an ounce of green marijuana with bags. But he gave me an ounce of marijuana, and uh, uh, and I think some other stuff I might have come across. But the thing
Right.
is, every time I tried it, it never would open up for me. And here's
Right.
the thing:
Right. Right.
it
Right.
wouldn't open up because I wasn't in that circle no more.
Right.
One,
Right.
and two, I was not really trying to really make it open up.
Right. Right.
I was kind of lazy about it, and I was, there's this verse in the Holy Quran, in paraphrase, because I don't remember it literally like verbatim, but it talks about how if we, if we keep making a certain decision or striving towards something,
Right.
that Allah has a way of where He'll protect us from that.
Right.
But it can come a time where He'll open up the gates for you to all your desires. He'll just
Right.
open them
Right.
up for you.
Right.
And in my way that I remembered it and understood it, I didn't want that to really happen.
Right.
Even though, yeah, I was trying to, but I ain't really want the gates to open.
Right.
So my thing is, because with the door opening, there's always a penalty involved. There's a dues that got to be paid. There's a penalty because so
Absolutely.
my thing is, I definitely don't want that.
Right.
So even though I might have knocked on the door a few times, if you didn't open the door for me in the first two knocks, I
Right.
stopped knocking. Because the
Right.
dude
Right.
gave me that one bag of green, and I ain't sell. I kept that bag for a whole month, and I ain't sell none of
Right.
it. And
Right.
he told me to give it back to him. But uh, just understanding though that you cannot over prepare, and a lot of
Right.
times when we're in a controlled environment in there, and
Absolutely.
after a certain amount of time being in a controlled environment, you seem to be on point.
Right. Right.
because you studying, you reading, you growing, you on point.
Right.
Not realizing a big factor in that is the controlled environment.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you only could do certain things in a certain time frame.
Right.
Either you could play games or you could study.
Mm.
So if you use all these times to study or work out or something like that, you winning.
Right.
But even with that, to get out here, like dudes will say, make sure your armor is on, right? Make
Right.
sure you put your armor on. Well, I mean, you can't, again, whether you got master's degrees in there or whatever else, you cannot over prepare for this world, because when you get out, it's a good possibility that the road is going to have some construction on it. You're
Absolutely.
not going to be able to just run that straight path like you thought you was.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
when you have to detour, if you don't have a mindset for that detour, and you get all frustrated and what or whatnot,
Right.
that's how you can get curved off. And so my book was um, had that in mind, of me including in it the lessons I've learned in the journey,
Right.
things that I learned that no one couldn't have told me, things that people didn't prepare me for, things that someone may have said, but you don't get it until you sometimes go through a thing, and then you
Right.
really, really understand what that meant when that person said X, Y, and Z. And
Absolutely.
so those kind of things are in there. But the main foundation, I would say, of the book had everything to do with that need to shift the way you view in life, as well as being grateful for where you at, what you have, and understanding how you can just get all you want in life. You just gotta be willing to do the work to get
Right.
the information so that you can do what you need to do to get it. But the book is written like a curriculum,
Okay.
and it's for the individual to stay out,
Mm.
but it's also for the loved ones to help them stay out.
Right.
So yeah.
And what would you and I posed this question to our brother Winford. I don't know if he's still in here. But in my experience, like it's like so many people, and as if you're a black person, somebody, a brother, a friend, an uncle, whatever, who has, either been on charges or been incarcerated or something,
Right,
tied up in the
right.
system, right? And it's one thing to, like you said, it's one thing to be in there, and when you're in there, it's like you have nothing but time, so it's easy to, you know become a very disciplined Muslim or a very disciplined Christian, or you're on this or you're on that. But then when you come home, it's like a whole different, like there's a whole different set of
Yeah, game
rules,
time. Yeah,
and you know
game
what I mean?
time.
Distractions, like all these kinds of things, right? And I feel like in my experience anyways, like a lot of people closer to me, it's like they come out and there's no like plan. It's just like, okay, life is just going to, I don't even know if they think, I don't even know if they consider certain things. And it's like, if you're trying to do right, it's hard to, you went in and you're making all this money. It's hard to scale back and be like, okay, well, this is the kind of money that civilians make, or like, this is the kind of lifestyle that civilians live, right? So I think that's on one hand, but is there anything that you could say to those who, and maybe you can answer if your book covers that, like those who maybe have not been caught up in the system yet, or have not been involved in that, but just to still, you know, play the game of life in a certain way, because we understand that as a black man, you're like enemy 101, I want, 101 in America. So it's like you have to understand that, you know, they're out to get you. They're out to trap you in one way or another. So do you have any like words of wisdom or advice or insight for those people, like younger youth or anything like that?
Um, yeah, the way I would put it, for an individual that hasn't been down before, if they playing, if they, what we would call in the streets, if they throwing rocks at the penitentiary, you know,
Right.
by involving themselves in criminal activity, but they've never been down.
Right.
Um, I would say that, with everything in life, you have to pay dues.
Right.
The only thing about when you're doing things the right way, when you're doing things the legit way, you have to pay the dues in advance,
Right.
which sometimes involves study, sometimes going to school or saving money and working and can't go out and you got you know what I'm saying sacrifices.
Right.
But when you're doing things the illegal way, it's going to come to you fast. So that means that you're cutting corners. So
Right.
therefore, you're getting what you want quicker without necessarily paying the dues just yet.
Right.
And the thing about when you cutting corners, getting things the illegal way, is that when it's time to pay the dues, because this is just a law that's written in life, you got to
Right.
pay your dues.
Right.
It's going to be, I would say, 100-fold. That's because that's if it ain't that, it feels like that.
Right.
You're gonna pay it 100 times more than had you just paid it in advance. Because just to give a picture, a person been hustling, and let's just say he's a street hustler.
Right.
He only making probably about 100, $200 or $300 a week. Uh, but he because he do what he want to do, live, don't be lazy, sleep all day, get high, go chase women, or however, whatever that looks like for who. When that person, let's make it a little bigger. Person selling zones, getting thousands of dollars a week.
Okay.
Uh, when it's time to pay dues, let's say for that, if that person get locked up, there's a number of ways that can happen. A person get locked up, or a person can get killed in the game.
Right.
If a person, that's the ultimate due. You lose your life. You lose your life. You lose everything that you said you was working for. This, that, and other. Now, a lot of times, dudes will tell themselves, "Well, I got family I gotta take care of. I got kids. They ain't gonna go hungry. I ain't gonna let
Right.
them be without. I ain't gonna." Okay, but if you get locked up and you get killed, you're not being there for them. They
Right.
gonna go
Right.
without this, that, and other, right? So the other one is bam, you get locked up. And when you get locked up, not only do it typically cost you everything in lawyer fees and whatever else, it's gonna cost you all what you done hustled,
Right.
and you find yourself having to sell everything that you had just to even pay to not get a life sentence. Yet and
Right.
still you get 20, 30 years you gotta go do.
Right.
Which is damn near a life sentence, depending on how old you are. But yeah, and still, my thing with that is that you lose so much more because not only do you lose your own freedom to operate and move around how you choose,
Mm.
but you lose the time
Right.
that you would have with your family, with your children, with your wife, with whatever. You lose all that time because in
Right.
time that I was down, my father passed, my grandfather passed,
Mm.
my great auntie passed. I didn't get to go to none of these funerals,
Right.
you
Right.
know, missed graduations and my boys and just, so you miss so much. And
Mm.
when it comes to kids, um, for individuals who have kids, when it comes to kids,
Mm-hmm.
they can love you, they can come visit you all the time and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I realized is that your kids can love you,
Mm-hmm.
but y'all don't have a real bond.
Mm.
And the bond is developed through you being able to go through things with that kid.
Right. Right.
That kid suffer and you there.
Mm.
You suffer the kid there. I mean, there's some suffering going on. That
Right.
is what bonds people, right?
Mhm.
And the good times and all that you get to experience with, but it's you being there.
Right.
It's you being able to be a part of these events in this kid's life. When they think back and reflect, they got memories with you there.
Right.
But
Right.
when an
Right.
individual can think back 10, 15 years and you're not there,
Mm.
that's I mean, again, they you there on a mental level,
Right.
but it's not really an emotional position that an individual would hold.
Right. Right. Right.
So I would just say again for individuals that never been down before, particularly, it definitely is just not worth it. You have to
Mm.
think about the what if,
Right.
and the sad thing about that though is that if an individual don't love, I mean, don't value. Let me use that term. Don't
Mm-hmm.
value their life.
Right.
It's hard to convince them
Mm.
to do anything otherwise because
Right.
they don't even value their own life enough. to
Right,
do
right, right.
anything worthy.
Mm,
And that was also an experience with me. So until the individual grow into being able to even have value for their
right,
own life, it's really hard to shift that, because it has to start in that area, for individuals to start doing something different,
right.
unless they change out of fear of some type of repercussion. But um, I think that, when I was thinking about what we do, the work that we do, and the example that we ought to present, right,
Right, right, right,
that us also being successful
right.
in other aspects of life is so necessary
For
in
sure.
this world, because that's what's going to speak volume to an individual that don't understand, to an
That's right.
individual that has a very surface level perceptive or perspective.
Right, right,
It's
right,
like, because their mind, I hear you, I see
right.
you, but but if you struggling, or
Right,
you you barely making it, don't
right.
nothing about that is appealing to me.
For
you
sure,
know
for sure.
yeah. So but in the same time, when the individual start going through something,
Mm,
and they able to look over there and see that person, man, I've always respected that you take care of your business, and it look more appealing
right, right,
when the
right,
end when whatever they have, and this individual here don't have nothing now. It's
right,
kind of like you got a car, you broke down the side of the road, and you stranded, and it's cold outside, and you've been out there 2 or 3 hours, and you ain't got nobody come get you. A person come pick you up in anything almost.
right. It's true, it's
and
true.
you're gonna appreciate it.
Right, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So but
Yeah, that's
I hope
that.
I was able to answer that.
Absolutely. No, that's great, and that's a great way to close it out. It's really great to see what you post and to see your insights and your perspective, and just keep growing, keep doing your thing. If you could just share where to find you at and where to find your book at, that would be appreciated.
My book it's on a link actually. It's in the bios on the link. I think I want to say it's. Oh, matter of fact, it's on Amazon. The book is on Amazon.
Okay.
'Cause I
Okay.
have so many different links. I'm sorry,
Yes.
but I do I do have a website that's up, but I need to revamp some things on it. But it is
Okay.
up, and it's under Gerald. I want to say it's GeraldEnlightenedMinds.net.
Okay.
Um, and then also TikTok, all the social media platforms, YouTube,
Instagram. Yes, sir.
under Mr. Shift Your Perspective, and it's yo yo perspective, and that was just me throwing in that little hood boy
Yes, sir.
slang or terminology up in there, because that's where I'm from. That's who I am, and
Right.
and yeah, so yeah, that's where you can find the books, and that's where you can find me. And
Okay. Sounds
yeah,
good. Sounds good. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the replay, make sure to, catch up with our brother, and get a book. Support your brother.
right, right.
So
Give us somebody.
thank you again. Have a great evening. There it is. How to stay out of prison. There you
Yeah, I
go.
stay out of
Okay.
prison.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Sis Ebony.